Good evening, all.
England's Discontents is about how political cultures have shaped the national identities of England and Britain, how they have worked in various degrees of alliance and competition with one another, how they feed into the cultures of civil society, and how today those alliances are falling apart under the weight of their own contradictions. It is easier to conjure up images of conservatism than its liberal partner. It dominates the mental images we have of the state, work, economy, and leisure. It has history, tradition, and grandeur on its side. It has symbols that seem synonymous with national identity. Liberalism, by contrast, emerged directly out of the market, where survival of the fittest makes community even more of a fantasy than under conservatism. If community was lacking, then liberalism could deploy industry, technology, progress, and reason itself against conservatism's romanticism. Cultural enmities between liberalism and conservatism eventually developed into something serious, as liberalism gravitated away from laissez-faire capitalism and aligned itself with the rising labour movement, which, by the 1930s, had established itself as a legitimate part of the national story. But liberalism abandoned labour when it had to choose between restoring capitalism or advancing social justice. Together, conservatism and liberalism have formed what Gramsci called historic blocs, the alliances between classes that form the long-term settlements within which political debate and culture is conducted.
You're a fraud, Nigel! Go back down the river, because you're up one without a canoe!
When historic blocs fall apart,
we used to protest against the establishment. Now the establishment protests against us.
That is a sign of acute crisis, when, as Gramsci put it, incurable structural contradictions come to the fore. Conservatism's investment in a national identity protected by an impermeable boundary is undermined by the international flows of culture, people, capital and goods that national markets depend on. Conservatism's commitment to liberal capitalism is even forcing it to choose between a British state that can accommodate Scotland or breaking up the 300-year-plus union. Yet liberalism finds its own investments in capitalism confounded. Scathing as it is about rentier economies based on land ownership or banking, it finds precious little to cheer in the development of British capitalism. Where is the investment in research and development, in the workforce, in industries that are driven by productivity? Suspicious as liberalism is of the conservative state and the threat it poses to individual liberty, liberalism still needs the state to keep organised labour down. And although it is comfortable with a cosmopolitan culture and leans towards tolerance on a whole number of social issues, it is bewildered when the economic inequalities capitalism generates produces illiberalism. England's Discontents shows how the present crisis has its roots in the domination of conservatism and liberalism, how they are responsible for the discontents in England and with England, and how a progressive exit from the crisis means breaking with their leadership in politics and culture, and recovering that submerged, almost forgotten tradition, socialism.